Sorry, y'all. I forgot to turn on my camera. So while it connects, there we go. Good morning, everybody. Hello, 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 hello. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing today? Psycho, go get some sleep. Voiden, I saw you too. You haven't gotten sleep yet. Why haven't you slept? You should, there you go. Get some sleep, Psycho. Lovely to see you. And why haven't you slept yet, Voiden? What's going on? You doing okay? Good morning. Thank you, Vanya, for getting first. Keeper of Fate for getting second. And Moreau, thank you for getting third. I am so proud of all of you. You learned how to count. It's very impressive. Good morning, Necro. Good morning, Echo. Good morning, Lilith. Good morning, Voiden, of course. Good morning, Necro again. I'm seeing your name twice. Good morning, Moxie. Good morning, Silas. How are you doing today, sweetie? I'm looking forward to seeing that art. Robin, thank you so much for the bits. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Good morning, Cat Lover 2246. I'm only now realizing that your name's 2246 because 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 plus 2 is 6, unless I'm wrong. I might be completely wrong with that one. Good morning, Lonely Dragon. Lovely to see you. Lovely to see you back here today. Of course, good morning, Robin. I think I already said morning to you. Good morning, Aika. How you doing, Aika? Good morning, TNT. Good morning, everybody. How'd you all sleep? I'm gonna be honest, chat. I meant to go to sleep. Like later last night, I meant to actually get some work done. But instead of getting work done, I decided to lay down at like 6. I was like, I'm gonna take a little hour nap. It's fine. It's fine. I'm just gonna take a little hour nap. Yeah, I woke up the next day, so I've had 3 more hours of sleep than normal. I passed out. I passed out hardcore, meaning I got nothing done. Good morning, Ocean. Hope you're doing okay. How we feeling? You doing all right? Always lovely to see Ocean. Yeah, it's just a little hours of sleep. I mean, like, okay. They say you're not supposed to do a full hour. You're supposed to try to stick with like a 15 or 30 minute rest. That way, you know, you're just like barely asleep, but you get enough to recharge you a tiny bit. Morning. Oh, right. But, chat, here's the thing. I know sometimes you have difficulty sleeping and you're like, I don't know, should I even try to sleep? Like, if I can't go to sleep, what's the point? Even laying down, closing your eyes, and resting will do more for your body and your brain than you just staying awake. Okay? Good night, cat lover. I'm glad you woke up to say good morning to me. So yes, please, no matter what, at least lay down. I feel like I give a new sleeping tip every morning. You don't know how much time I spend trying to figure out sleep. And I'm good at it. I'm really good at sleeping. Well, good to know, Ocean. You take care of yourself, and I know it's probably got to be really tiring going through all of that. I just... It's something I like doing. I'm very dumb when it comes to very common sense things, but I get really excited to learn about new things that might improve my life. For instance, chat, Red Bull is sleep, Red Bull is not sleep. Tips with Gene, tips from Gene. Echo, you perv, behave yourself. For instance, chat. Did you know that if you're trying to study for a test, or you're trying to learn something new, you should get flavored gum? And for every material that you need to learn, you chew a certain type of gum. The reason why this is because you can attach memories to sensations, feelings, smells, tastes. And so if you learn, like let's say you're learning math, and you have grape gum. You chew grape gum every time you do math, and then you go take the test, and you chew the grape gum again, and suddenly, bam, everything comes back that you're studying. Gotta go back to work since my break is over. Okay, well, have a good day at work. Mwah. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Trying to help you know that before every stream, I'm sitting here with food in my lap, just scarfing it down as quickly as I can, watching the timer go down. All right, plans for today. So I had planned on trying to read a book today, but I have an asset that I just had made with me holding a book. And unfortunately, I can't figure out how to load it or work it, so we're not going to be reading a book today. I am sorry that I won't be able to read a book today, but the fact that I can't use the asset makes me bummed out a little bit. Good morning, Akaru. Lovely to see you. Wait, I suppose we went to sleep like a normal person? I pretty much just woke up. It's almost 4 a.m., but it's nice to wake up. What do you mean you supposedly do not feel like you slept? But yes, I'll get the asset working. And once the asset's working, we're gonna do more like morning ASMR reading streams. Yeah, I have it. It just won't load into VTS for some reason. No matter what I do, or when it does load, it loads as individual pieces. So I think there's something I'm missing here. But it could be I just don't know how to use animated assets. I am willing to believe that I am just too dumb to understand animated assets. Would not be the first time. Most certainly won't be the last time. I am trying to load it. But, we will do that another time. Because I don't want to sit here on stream, messing up. Random lore drop. I love when family gives random lore drops. Oh my god, I love talking to my dad. Thank you for the lurk, Ocean. Mwah. Be good, okay? I love talking to my dad sometimes. So for those of you who don't know, my dad grew up in Germany, all over the place actually, and was weirdly popular growing up. Like here I am, a nerdy goth kid in high school and stuff. Oh, Akaru, go to sleep early. Don't make me start like, I will start DMing people being like, hey, I'm going to bed. You better be in bed too. Good morning, little alien. I hope everything's going well for you. I hope your vacation is going well. So yes, my dad was popular growing up. He was a cross-country runner. Smoked, because everybody then did. He actually got told off all the time, being like, yo, Gene's dad, you're not supposed to be smoking. It's so bad for your lungs. He's like, get fucked, old man. And, well, Moxie, you need to work on that. And he also was in bands. So not only did he hang out with the cool athletic kids, he hung out with the cool, druggy kids. He was in a few bands growing up, and it was cool because he actually played a few like opening shows for some bands and did a bunch of different songs with other bands, and yeah, he has a lot of really cool experiences, especially with people getting really high or really, really drunk and then trying to figure out how to get back across the city. Oh, do y'all go to... Chat, how many of you have gone to conventions? The last convention I went to was... Ooh, that was my last year of high school, wasn't it? Wow, I need to go to more conventions. I went to Anime Midwest. It's a convention in Chicago. And we specifically went there because a band we wanted to see was playing the convention. Me and my dad, actually. I do a lot of stuff with my dad. As many daddy issues as I have. It was, we went to go see Steam Powered Giraffe, and it was so good. So good. Even if the, con, what are they called? The people who, like, run the con didn't abide by their own rules. Because of course they wouldn't. But yeah. What's up? What's up, Silas? I'm waiting. Yeah, the con staff. Like, the rules were, for specifically the show, that if you had, like, the special passes to get in, you needed to show up before the show. You had to be at least 10 minutes early to the show to get the, like, express pass usage. Well, these one people showed up at the very last second, and they got sit in the dead front row in front of everybody. So everybody was pissed off, being like, oh, really? Fucking really? And that's the only thing that really pissed me off. Really? That's kind of cool. Did you go to the, thank you for the follow, crew, with all the O's. How are you doing today? Or is it Crow? Is it Crow? No. Crow Zero. Crow 0. Tell me how your name is pronounced. Walk me through this. This is important. But yes, turns out the front row is Silas. I would be pissed. Silas, I'm killing you. I mean, no, I would never kill him. There's also a thing at that convention that was like, God, it was like an anime after dark thing. And so, yeah, we went to the anime after dark part with my father, which honestly, probably not the, most comfortable experience. Just KR. Cruh. But I don't know, my dad's chill. As many issues as I have with him, he's still very chill. Love the man. I have a decent family. Well, chat. Give me a year. Next year, I will be going to TwitchCon or whatever VTuber conventions there are. Because by then, I should be able to get partner status, right? And y'all can meet me IRL. Or I'll wear a mask and you won't be able to see me and you'll be like, oh my god, Gene's here. I wonder who Gene is. And then you'll never know. I will be the 300-foot mech. That's the plan. I do think it's funny. I can tell, like, when you talk to somebody and you're like, oh, you seem young. Why do you seem young? Oh, you don't have trauma. You don't have trauma, do you? You haven't had the emotional regression or acceleration that you get from having trauma. Well, I love that for you. I will be dressing as the Burger King. Right? You can hear it in the voice. My trauma came from outside of the family. Yay! Okay, plans for this morning. I think I have too much energy to be all ASMR. And there is a game I've wanted to play since childhood. Thank you, Lacey. How you doing? Welcome. Oh, we're in your garden. Yay. Chat, this is Lacey's garden now. Wait. Oh, I can't do a garden. I can do a different background, though. Give me a second. We're going to change the background. A little bit warmer. There's some life here. No, actually, my voice is a combination of things. It is partially trauma. That's why I've aged my voice. But it's also because at a very, 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 very young age, my father insisted on teaching me how to speak properly and how to project and how to, speak a little clearer. Which was always interesting. Because imagine me as a child being taught, like, hey, you have to do a school presentation. You better do this presentation like you're leading an army, or you're at the head of a board meeting. I'm like, I'm 5 years old, Father. The presentation is on like what my favorite color is. It's fine. And so I sit there on one side of the room. He's like, okay, I need to be able to hear you in the other room, so you better start talking, but don't you yell, because yelling's not what we want. We want projection. And that's what I would do. Who cared if he spoke? Oh, he was the kind of father that like everything I do reflects on him, so I have to do it right. But there's also chill other places. I don't know. He's a good dad. He's not the best dad. There's trauma, but he was a good dad. Exactly. My dad, like me, knows a lot of stuff for no reason. And he keeps all his knowledge and just kind of doles it out. But then other times, and it's hard to be taught something when the person teaching you doesn't know why they're teaching you it. They just held on to the knowledge at a previous time. But you pick up some stuff. Good morning. Sounds like a really good father-son bonding experience. I've had some good ones. I mean, I will say, here's where the big issue came in. My father was very self-centered initially, growing up. He would go to work at like 5 a.m. or 4 a.m., 4:30, I think. Wake me up, which was nice. Go to the military, work all day, come home, go to his little music studio, record music, and go to bed. And he had a lot of thank you for the hydrate, I appreciate it. A lot of repressed traumas. I mean, my grandfather was a bit abusive. And he had a lot of stuff from the military he hadn't worked with. So he would get so angry. It was rough. And when my father gets angry, all the men in my family get angry, it's very scary. They're loud. It's as a child, it's terrifying. It is terrifying. And that is where that kind of boundary started happening of where he's a good dad now, but a lot of that kind of fear I have related to my father occurred. Sorry, we're getting into trauma shit. If this is too much for all of you, let me know. But my mother ended up divorcing him, and I think that kind of shock kind of set my father straight, where he realized he had been isolating himself, and all these things had been negative. That it takes more to be a father than just providing for a family, right? And when he realized that, my mother won custody. I went to Italy for about a year, and when I came back, he was a different person. He was a lot more open and willing to talk, and we had our first kind of bumping heads, where I had spilled shower gel onto carpet and I hadn't realized. The container had kind of spilled open and soaked in the carpet and dyed it blue. And when my dad saw that, I freaked the fuck out and I sprinted into a bathroom and locked the door. And he didn't realize what had happened. He was very, it kind of threw him for a loop. And he realized oh shit, he's terrified of me. And I think that was what took us to start bonding, was that he wanted to then be hey, I'm a different person now. Let's talk, that kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. I would have used to have been hit, and that's what I thought was going to happen. But then again, I also found out later on, which might be triggering for people. I do apologize if you don't want to hear anything triggering right now. Please close your ears for the next 10 seconds or 20 seconds. My father had been completely alone and got to the point where he had considered ending his own life. And I think when I came to live with him, he was I now have more meaning again. And so me coming back here helped him out a lot. So yeah, a lot of negatives, a lot of positives. He's a better man now than he was when I was younger. And I'm very appreciative of that. I don't know why I told all of you that. I don't know why I told all of you that. Good morning, everybody. We just woke up. I have a half-drunk coffee here and a crust of a pizza in one hand. But, you know, welcome to Trauma Bonding 101. Yeah. And we've done some good stuff since then, you know, it's a lot of fun. anyways, I wanted to $20 because I got free therapy. I wanted to try to play maybe some Killer 7 this morning. It's my stream. I can trauma dump all I want. Exactly, chat. I'm just gonna trauma dump all the time. No, we won't get into the real trauma. We'll just get into some of the family lore. He is the reason why I like to sing, though. And it's funny coming from a family of musicians, being the worst singer from the family, and then streaming and occasionally singing, and people being like, I like your voice, you sing so well. And I'm like, no, I don't. Because objectively to me, I don't sing well compared to the other people in my family. Oh God, I'm going to introduce y'all to my sister sometime. Y'all can hear what a real good voice sounds like. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. I am probably... And outside my mother was not part of the that side of the family, but anybody from that side of the family has a much better voice than I do. I'll see if I can get her to sing. I'll see if I can record something. She's trained also. She was briefly doing idol training, but hadn't decided not to go down that route. She was also on a TV show singing. It was one of those like game show song things. But yeah. Ah, Lacey. That is good. I need to pin this. Comparison is the thief of joy. That is good. That is good. That is great. I love that. Comparison is the thief of joy. And you're right. You're 100% right. If you spend all your time trying to be a streamer or a VTuber or be whatever you want to be, and you look at anybody else and you're like, why am I not doing as good as them? Because you're too busy trying to be somebody else. Good night, love, Max. Sleep well. I don't know. I tried streaming before, and I'd been like, I looked at everybody else trying to do what they did, and it never worked for me. And I realized I don't like doing that. I don't do great with collabs because I have to slip my attention. I'm not a good FPS gamer. I'm not the greatest comedian, but I'm goofy on my own. So, you know, here I am. Yeah. Okay. Right. So, I wanted to play a game that I wanted to play as a, oh, that's loud. As a child, called Killer 7. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of Killer 7, but when I was younger, I loved to get the Game Informer magazines, and this game was like rated at the top of their list. They're like, oh, it's so cool, it's so great, it's the best game ever. And they had like an entire like 6-7 pages on it where I'm just like, I gotta see this game stuff. I'm like, it's so cool. I've never actually looked at gameplay of this game. I've only seen it in that magazine, but I'm finally wanting to try it out. So we're gonna do that a little bit this morning. It's not gonna be the chillest thing. I know it might be a little bit much for the morning, so I do apologize, but we're gonna give it a try. Y'all all right with that? Oh, KR, definitely drop some sick poetry. I'd love to see your poetry sometime. We will do a writing stream at some point again. Speaking of writing, don't forget, November, fight me, Dar. During November, we're going to be doing NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writers Month. That means every day, no matter what, for about an hour to 2 hours, I'll be coming on stream to write my 1,667 words and see if we can finish a book. You all can join me. I'm going to make a channel in the Discord. I might make a separate Discord just for writing so that we can all share our stuff there. and I want to see if I can get some books written by our lovely community members. It's going to be hard. Don't get me wrong. It is going to be hard. Being consistent, writing the same amount every single day, trying not to like overthink it. But if you all want to do it with me, feel free to do so. It's going to be in November. We'll have a whole launch party and everything for it, okay? Thank you so much for the follow. Okay. Gaming time. Who stinks here? Which one of you is it? Which one of you smells? I've heard that quote. I have heard the quote. I have heard that quote, comrade. Oh, I know that quote. Do you think Margaret Thatcher effectively used girl? Do you think Margaret Thatcher had girl power? Of course. Do you think she effectively utilized girl power by funneling money to paramilitary death squads in Northern Ireland? Chat. We hate the Queen. 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 We hate the Prime Minister. Just a reminder. Just a reminder. God, that was. Come out, you black and tans. Exactly, comrade. That is my goal, chat. I have been to Scotland. I've been to the UK. I need to go to Ireland. I need to get very drunk, and I need to sing anti-British songs. Goals. It's gonna be. Meet me at a convention. Meet me at an anti-UK rally. Okay, chat. Killer 7. It's time. It's time. It's time. Hopefully it'll be a lot of fun. If this game is awful, I do apologize, but I can't imagine it's awful. It did so good in Game Informer. It did so good in Game Informer back in the days. Thank you for the follow, Zero. Welcome, 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 welcome. Hi, how you doing? Yes, it's Capcom, which tells you how well this game did. I don't think it, like, actually had much more than a cult following. Also, is the game too loud? Zero, I'm doing pretty good. It's good morning. I have coffee. Playing German? I'm not playing German. All right, chat, is this loud? All right, here we go. Is that too loud, chat, though? Y'all can hear it, right? It's reasonable? I'll make it a little bit quieter. We'll do it a little bit quieter. Oh my god, you can tell this game has been ported really, really poorly. When you have a separate screen, a pop-up outside of the normal menus. Okay, here we go. That's just as loud. Nothing changed. All right, 1 second, chat. We're gonna do. Oh. Here, we're going to control sound here through my open sound settings, and that's not what I wanted. Volume mixer. There it is, Killer 7. Yep. There we go. Enjoy your sleep. I'm not gonna try deadly. I'm so confused already. Yeah, sleep well. Sleep well. You've read all night? Oh, what'd you read, KR? Was it good? Gracie and Smith. This was definitely PS2 era. Oh, this is an old game. Oh! Christopher Mills. That was a GameCube game? This was a GameCube game? What book was it, KR? Who's the author? Thank you for the follow, Lacey. Lacey's.
It's me. So, you there yet?
You mean this shithole?
That's where they all hang out. Our information tells us that there's 14 of them.
And they're all fun.
Oh, one second.
Keep one alive so we can ask who the boss is.
Anything else I should know?
Nah, not really. You'll know when you see them. They're, different.
Will do.
You did not hear MILFs.
Devil have mercy.
God, it's just so actiony. Most of what I read is comics. I love comics. All right, here we go, chat. Destroy the Heaven Smile headquarters and capture the chief alive. Yes. No, 7 hours is great. You know what? Okay, KR, listen to this. You could either be, spending your whole day doing what I do, which is, scroll on my phone while I'm at work, getting on Twitter, posting random stuff, commenting on things because I think that's going to help me have my growth. Or you could read a book. Personally, I think you should be reading a book. What do you mean hold left click to run? What? What? Wait. Okay, it's left click to run, right click to change directions and run. Oh, this is so weird. Wait a second.
Son of a bitch.
Oh, Lacey, I get why you're here now. It's the voice, isn't it? Pulls up. Don't judge. No. Okay, wait. What was the scan? Was scan tab shift? Oh, this is so weird. Okay, I want to explain to you all the controls for this game now, in case you didn't understand what happened. Oh, curious about VTuber culture. Really? Well, I'm glad to be your entrance into VTuber culture. If you have any questions or comments, you know, let me know.
It's dangerous. My friends are all dead. They were all murdered.
Why is that a child?
It looked like this. I have been chosen.
Okay.
Oh, shit. There's more than 14. Those bastards are breeding.
What's the right way to peel a banana? I have two schools of thoughts on the right way to peel a banana. You can either do it from the bottom, you flip it upside down, you pinch at the end and you pull, it comes off a lot cleaner and you don't get a lot of the strands. Or you can split it in half, because it's a lot faster. You just go and smash it open and you throw the banana into the smoothie you're making. Okay. Which way are we going? Let's talk to this guy. Use a knife? Knife. Just break it. Exactly. This is so weird. This is... he's definitely wearing something. He is definitely wearing something. Good morning, Chubb. Thank you for the follow, Blow a Bubble. How you doing? Hey, chat, do you like to blow bubbles? Ah, well good. Bubbles is back in town and he's looking for you. Wait. I'm so confused already. Let me through. Let me through the door. Lobby. Okay. Ah, here we go. You're lucky I'm locked in this room. Fair enough, fair enough. Let's go check out the TV. What do you mean? Thick blood. Wait, what?
Later. Peace.
Huh? Oh my god, I'm somebody different now. What? Huh?
Later.
What did you say?
Later.
What did you say?
I'm...
What did you...
I must defeat 11 opponents.
I've changed my makeup. Did you notice?
Oh, it's just so weird. Okay. I'm gonna be lady now, chat. You're not allowed to talk while holding a knife? What'd you do? You should not be allowed to hold a knife. Chat, actually, no one in chat's allowed to hold a knife anymore. Why she got no shoes? Why she got blood on her? Interesting. Okay. No cooking, chat. Chat, you're not allowed. You have to order all of your food now. Oh shit.
Hurts, doesn't it?
talk to this guy. Have a good day at work. Try and stop me? I will try. Let me make a suggestion. You must turn back. Really? This is the enemy's den? Really? Mm-hmm. The guns are fucking cool. The guns are cool. The outfit is sending you. I like how he's just all like constantly quiet. No, chat, no knives, chat, bad chat. It's just an aim training game. Oh shit, oh shit. It's me. You don't remember. Interesting. I'm Travis. I love this man. I'm the killer who got killed on the job. Let's be totally honest here. You think I'm a pain in the ass, don't you? Hey, Smith. I ain't letting you go nowhere. What? Interesting. Ooh. Ooh. Interesting. What the fuck is that? It does. I swear that man has tried to get into my car before. Y'all ever have that happen, by the way? Doggles and jet. No dogs. There's no dogs here. No cats here either. No, I was... Wait, the bullets he loves them so? So the servants? Mm-hmm. Okay, so Jet, my father and I were driving across the country because, I don't know why. Actually, you know what? I'm not sure why we drove across the country. I think my dad's like, we're gonna go on a road trip, so we went on a road trip. And so we went from the middle of the country all the way to the edge of the country in one night, which took over like 12 or some hours. It was insane. It was insane. And we got to one place, stopped there for the night, slept on, I slept on a keyboard case, like a, you know, electronic piano keyboard. And we went to a gas station, and we were trying to do the gas station, and the guy comes up to the window. Me, being a young teen, is like, hey, open the window. Hey, let me in. Freak the fuck out, so I just pretended I was deaf. Then he goes to my dad and is like, hey, can you give me a ride? So yeah, no, we did not give the guy a ride. I'm pretty sure if we had, we would have been killed. But hey, it's okay. We're okay. Hi, Gene, how are you? I'm good, how are you? Camilla, smile. Wait. Exactly. A core memory. An awful core memory, but a core memory nonetheless. Oh, I'm sorry you're sick. Mm-hmm. No, Dar. He's like, yeah, so I need you to help me go pick up my mother. It's like, it's 3 a.m. We're not gonna help you pick up your mom. Okay. Yeah, chat, you're learning everything about me. If you have any questions, please ask. In the name of Harmon. Okay, here we go. I don't know what we're doing, but we're doing something. What is the fan service? Wait, am I dead? Oh, 1 second. Ah, no, shit. Turn around. Sorry, my alarm's going off. There we go. Amazing. Shit. There it is. Reload faster, reload faster. Amazing. I do think it's funny that they make me turn around. Wait. Oh, Isabella, you are such a good girl, aren't you? Always such a good girl. Wait, I'm supposed to be charging something. Chat, I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't pay attention. I wasn't actually reading. Did anybody else read? Okay, wait. Wait, I gotta look this up because I wasn't reading. Okay, okay, 1 sec. Killer 7 blood bullet. All right, Soul Shot, how's it work? Okay, okay, wait. As you go further down, no. Okay. 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 Hmm. Hmm. That or Devil May Cry reused the sounds. Interesting. Okay. We're gonna keep trying this. Oh shit. Holy fuck. Okay, so we are collecting blood right now. I don't know what I'm doing with this blood. So I'm so confused now. Maybe inventory? What if I just go this way? No. Damn. Oh. Hi, donkey. I figured it out. Okay, I can focus on chat again. Hello, chat. How lovelies. How are you doing? This is just a duplicator. The egg-laying heaven smile. What are you realizing? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I don't know. That makes sense. You want that shirt? Bad girl. Oh my god, wait, I love the shirt. I love the shirt. Every time he gets a different shirt. Chat, this is my goal. This is my goal. I'm gonna get old, and then I'm gonna cosplay Travis. That's when I get old, I'm gonna cosplay as Travis. Mm-hmm. No, I'm gonna get Travis age. I'm not, bruv. You're already old. Fight me. Fight me then. Really? That's rude, Travis. Travis, he's only 22. Thank you so much. Thank you for the follow. How you doing this morning? All right, see if we can take the elevator now. It's me. I do remember you. We just talked. Okay, he's not letting us leave. Never mind. Hello, how you doing, Maka? How you doing, Maka? What's up? How's life? Hope you're doing well. Okay. Wait, so Trevor's just gonna talk to us over here. Yep, already talked to you. He says the millennial energy. Bruv. Way to call me out. I'm a young millennial, thank you. I'm such a small young boy. I'm like a young babe. I'm a tiny little child boy, man. Why do you hate cheese? Why do you hate cheese? What's going on? What's your hatred for cheese? Hallway north. Oh fuck. It's me. I'm a little guy. Anyways, you just had a ball of motts. That's kind of sick. Ah. God damn it, man. What do you want? I like it. Como vai? Exactly, Donkey. That's the goal. In the name of Harmon. I want to meet Harmon. All right. Who the hell yelling help me? Oh, fuck it. Come on. You let fucking... There it is.
Doesn't it?
Uh-huh.
Doesn't it?
So no head? Exactly. You know, I think he's just doing it for that female gaze. Can we get a blow? You know, sometimes I just gotta fight somebody, okay? You can't judge me for this. What's up? Ooh, yeah. I wasn't expecting the man in the corner. What's up, Iwazaru? How you doing? Yeah. I'm glad to hear that, Marco. The bondage gear is definitely a choice. I mean, like... Honestly, I'm kind of impressed. He's able to, you know, talk with all that stuff in his mouth. I'm not cosplaying as him. I'm most definitely not cosplaying as him. Alright, let's check out the TV. What is that? Oh, thick blood. Masked Smith? Oh, look at him! What's his skills? He has no skills. It's time. We are mass. Yes! Who is this man's? What? Micro smile, oh no. This is the best. He probably doesn't do good against groups, but you know. Get obliterated, fam. Shit, I missed. You pissed off your bestie by sending her a whimper audio? Why are you sending your bestie whimper audios? Bunny? Oh, Cookie. Cookie, sweetie. What a good little bunny you are. Such a good bunny. Doesn't get my... Gotcha. We'll try him out for this section. I think anytime I get to swap characters, we're gonna swap characters. No shit. What's up, Yoon? Gotcha. Oh! The people irrelevant to the people. That's why he's here. I get it. I checked the candlesticks. A strange design indeed. It is hidden here. The order is hidden here. Perfect. Then use this mask. Shoot the mask and the mask will tell you. But watch out, the mask lusts for blood. The mask lusts for blood. Ooh, I would love a treat, Fauna. Give me a treat. Shoot the mask. Fania, whoa! I'm such a cute little puppy. Why did I allow that? Why did I make that? Room 212. God, he's so... I love it. I love the character design. Candle. Insufficient flame. Not again. Harf, I'm such a cute little puppy. There you go. Happy. Oh, shit. Yeah. I get it. So he doesn't get blood because I can't shoot the spot, right? Okay, interesting. You know what? I need to swap. We're swapping, chat. Going back. Hopefully. Hey, good morning, sweet angel. Love to see you. All right. Oh shit. I mean, he's super powerful. Don't get me wrong. But like, okay, what else do we have?
Don't make me say it again. Don't make me say it again. I'm a cleaner.
Wait here.
I've changed my makeup.
Wait here.
Don't make me say it again.
Wait.
Don't
Wait here.
Let's be Dan. Oh, and I have skill points. Okay, so I can upgrade this. Instant kills. Waiver. Target locked. Oh, I forgot about target lock. Everybody just says charge shot right now. I don't know what that does. I don't know how to do the charge shot. Oh, donkey. How do I charge shot? I am using mouse and keyboard, so if that causes an issue, let me know. Let me get to your leg. There it is. I am on PC. Yes. Alright, let's just try some buttons. Oh wait, is charge shot when it zooms in? Jork the gun. Hi, Travis. Thank you for the follow, Early Gray. How you doing? Good morning. Shit, ain't that pretty wicked? Okay. Aha, chat. Oh, it's title screen. They're all named Smith. Items, okay. Blood. Memos, pigeon. Interesting. Yes, it was. Aha! Figured it out. This is cool. It's such a cool game. I don't know, but I wouldn't risk it. Honestly, the issue with hitchhiking is oftentimes the hitchhikers. He's just flipping me off now. I love it. Okay, can I do anything with the candle yet? I'm sorry, Aura. What? There it is. Yeah, it's very specific, Aura. What the fuck? Who starts a conversation like that? Mm-hmm. Thank you for the hydrate and the stretch. And the hydrate. Chat, I will eventually play No More Heroes. I'll definitely play No More Heroes. I'm excited. I'll see if I can get it on the Wii. You haven't kissed a white person in over 20 years? I mean, do you want to fix that, donkey? Ah. I'm a J kisser. Mm-hmm. You're on a strict tie diet. Vibes. And if you realize this, I know I could be anything. Alone fun morning, no. Mm-hmm. Or we don't tell that story. Mm-hmm. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Mm-hmm. 99 Luftballons sehen auf dem Himmel. Yeah, anyways. I could do, wait. I could do, du hast mich. Du hast mich. Du hast mich gefragt und ich hab nix gesagt. Ja, ich weiß Deutsch. Meine Mutter ist Deutsch.
I've changed my makeup.
Wait here.
Don't make me say it again.
Und jetzt, wir bin dieser Mann hier. Riding in my car right after a beer. Hey, that bump is shaped like a deer. DUI, now how about you die? Na, Milord. No! I should have run away. Oh, what's up, dude? Mm-hmm. I also learned some Spanish. I checked the toilet. It fills with water. I have no clue what that one means. Oh no! I just... I'm sorry, at least you tried, right? I can understand Italian. I can read Latin. I can speak basic Italian. I can almost fluently, like elementary level, fluently speak German. I can understand a lot of Spanish, but not all of it, and English. All right, what are we doing though? Well, yours is definitely better than mine. Oh, you're just giving me random fucking... Okay. I thought there was some specific thing you're trying to say, but you've just given me a bunch of random Latin. The prayer, do I? I used to live in Italy for a little while, so I had to learn some Italian. What the Chad's a puzzle. Oh no. Oh, shit. It's another puzzle. No puzzles. Oh, Jesus. Ah. Run! 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 Chat, I forgot about saving. I forgot about old games made you save. That I have no idea what it says. I don't hate you. What do you mean? Flirt with me in Italian? I cannot. I cannot. All my flirting I did was in English. Wait. No. No. Yeah, refund yourself. Refund yourself right now. Chat. It sent me all the way back. Somebody smells. Somebody stinky. Who's stinky? Which one of you is stinky? There we go. I don't like her gun. I swear it's not as powerful as the other ones. She's cool though. Great talk to Travis. Ignored. Get ignored, homie. Why are you gonna make me cry? Oh, I like that.
Hurts, doesn't it? Hurts, doesn't it?
Wait, should I just sit here and just farm? I could just sit here and farm. Probably not a lot. Okay, enjoy your sleep. Anyways. You looked up Whimper audios. That's crazy. What's up, Travis? Oh, okay, that makes sense. Have fun, have fun, have fun. We'll explore for the plot. We're not gonna farm. Yeah, chat. If you haven't slept yet, get some sleep, okay? Enjoy your sleep. Get some sleep if you haven't slept. Come on, get some sleep. As much as I love having all of you here, you know, and it's incredible that you all get to go on new adventures. Thank you for the follow. Y'all need sleep. All right, give me that. Give me the bullet. Receive soul shell. Wait. You're gonna eat my chair? Don't eat my chair! So gross. Oh, I already talked to you. We're fine. Trust me. Crazy, crazy for feeling so lonely. And that makes me want to think. I lost all ambition for worldly acclaim. I just wanna be the one you love. And with your admission that you feel the same, I can be the one you're dreaming of. Believe me, I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to start a flame in your heart. There we go. And watch. And boom! Man got exploded.
Hurts, doesn't it?
That'll do.
Hurts, doesn't it?
There it is.
Hurts, doesn't it?
I lost all ambition for worldly acclaim. Oh, you're right. Thank you for the reminder. I just want to be the one you love. We obviously need to wake him up, yes.
Later. Peace.
I want to try him out. He looks fun. And how do I save again? What's the answer for what?
Don't make me say it again. I'm a cleaner.
Wait here.
How do you even scare raccoon? Must defeat 10. Okay, got it.
What did you say?
I've changed.
Wait.
Don't make
I remember seeing a save. How did I get to the save, chat?
Destiny.
Job. How do I save? How did I save?
Dangerous.
What the fuck? What did I just do? Okay, we're gonna keep hitting buttons, chat, until I figure out how to save. Dangerous. Okay.
Don't make me say it again. I'm a
Wait here.
I've changed my makeup.
What did you say?
Later.
Damn it.
Dangerous.
I don't remember how to save, chat. Oh no. It is save points. Oh. Here we go, chat. Let's go. I am the Laura. Oh. This is bad, Samantha. I love them. Micro smile.
Fuck you. Fuck
you. What's up, Travis? Do a Lorax impression. I am the Lorax and I speak for the trees, and for some fucking reason they're speaking Vietnamese. There you go, that's the best. Say the trees, guys, say the trees. I like that this man is blindfolded. There you are. I also like, look how this man holds his guns. There it is.
You gotta help me.
Oh no, oh no, she's dead. Oh no. Man is shrimped. Top tier shrimping. Put on the mask.
Fuck you.
Wait. So you are the worthless loser? What a pitiful existence. I am the true mask. And I shall guide you. The ring of fire and numbers shown on the candlesticks. From 1 to 5. Tomorrow could be you. Wait, so if I use the mask and I feed blood to the mask tells me the answer to the puzzle. Okay. Freed the mask. Where do I get flame from? Oh, foulest thing the chat has ever asked. Foulest thing the chat has ever asked. I honestly don't know. They've asked some pretty foul things. Wait, what? What clip? Tell me, Vanya, tell me. You should pay this month's bills. Oh, okay. Wasn't really saying foul that was asked, but... I'm so confused. Hi, Profanos. How you doing, hon? I'm doing good. I refund. I don't know. I don't know what the foulest thing chat's asked. They've asked some pretty random shit, but I don't pay attention. You should commit tax fraud? I will. Can't stop me. Thank you. Enjoy your points back. God, I love him so much. I love the... There it is. Pigeon. Hello, Pigeon. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance, and many thanks for choosing me for the job. My name is Johnny Gagoon. Sorry, Gagnon, otherwise known as Speedster. I get excited when I slit a guy's throat. Excuse me? I know that it may be sick, but I do my best to work in town. As a report on the job, I'm sure you'll like what I have to say. I watch them like a hawk, so I think a hefty reward is in order. There are 7 in the Smith Syndicate. Dan Smith, who uses a large caliber revolver. Kate Smith, who uses a large automatic rifle. Con Smith, who uses 2 fully auto pistols. Master Smith, who uses grenades. Kevin Smith, who uses knives. Coyote Smith, who uses a modified gun. Garcian Smith, who uses a small pistol. You wouldn't want to be on their bad side. In conclusion, it is an interest to the United States to keep them around. Johnny Gagong! Oh, Donkey. Donkey. You're such a bad girl. Oh, hey, such a bad girl. Alright, here we go. How you doing, Profane? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Ironing her tusks. Here we go. Give. Got him. Oh, Aura, thank you for the pronoun redeem. Hello, everybody. My name's LuckyJene, and I go by he, they. What pronouns do you use? Have you seen Tusk? I have not seen Tusk. I know what you're talking about, though. She, her, any? Nice, nice, nice. I'm Tame here. Any sort of other audios are done custom or are on the NSFW Twitter. This is a safe space. Can I... Don't do anything. Damn it. She, her? Good choice, good choice. Nice choices. The toilet has no water. Where do I get water for the toilet? Chat, I can't piss in the toilet. A written biography. I had jobs. Today's the time spot. Well, we're talking about jobs again, right? Chad, you want to know about my job? I think this is the way. Open the control panel. Open the control panel. I feel like this is supposed to make sense. But all I can say is I'm more confused than anything. Okay, how do we save? Samantha! Samantha helps us save. Yay! Chat, we did it. Straight jorking it. Y'all don't be exposing your IRL shit here. You know I love you all. Do you hear the sound at the spot where you thought would... Did I hear that sound? Yes, I did. I did hear that sound.
Destiny.
I kind of want to try out Cody. Yes, due to mostly TOS.
Later.
What did you?
I've changed my.
What did you?
Later.
Destiny. Don't make me say it again.
Wait here.
I've changed my makeup.
What did you say?
Wait, it's a hint? Does that mean I have to use like a specific person?
What did you say?
What happens if I use him? Okay. Can one of these guys make water? That's the question. But there is a Discord.
Destiny.
If you're 18 plus.
Later.
What did you say?
I've changed my.
What does he do? I want to try Kevin Smith. Do. Interesting. That's fair, that's fair, that's fair. You don't have to gamble. Okay. Okay, so not him, I'm guessing. Understood. You need a blood... What form to... Ah, okay. Well, we'll come back. Interesting. Fuck! Mm-hmm. There we go. Wait, what? He can pick any lock. There's no stopping this freak. Who can pick locks? Who can pick locks? I quit listening. Damn it. The name of the Harmon. Oh, in the name of Harmon. Membership's a union? Oof. Okay, so one of them can pick locks. It's time to figure out who do we think could pick locks, chat. Who do we think could pick locks out of all these guys? Okay. Let's see. If I was a lock picker, not him.
Later.
Pete.
Hmm.
What did you say?
I've changed my makeup.
Wait here.
Don't make me say it again.
Wait here.
I've changed my.
What did you
I
say?
feel like he could. I should have paid attention. Oh shit, it is 5:20, chat. 5:20, that means that I'm gonna have to come to an end of stream here. I gotta get ready for work. Probably. That means we're gonna find somebody to raid out to. Lovely, lovely, lovely viewers. Let's see who we got going on. Oh, that'll do. All right, we're going to go right into Leia Panthera. They're a fantastic, fantastic, fantastic streamer. They're playing Red Dead Redemption. I had a lovely time with all of you here today. And I will be heading out. Hope you all had a lovely time. Don't forget, we have a Discord, exclamation point Discord. I'll be back later today at 4 p.m. MST. And yeah, Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So we're going to do one of these. We're going to make a little raid message real quick. It's going to be Lucky Raid. Boop, boop, doop, boop, doop. And y'all have a fantastic day, okay? I'll be back later. Loved having you all here. Mwah, 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 mwah. Be good, everybody. We'll see you next time.